Do you know, I never thought I was disappointed not to read dinosaur porn, but here we are.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? When we're going, we don't need roads. Snakes. Why'd it have to be snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman.
This episode may contain spoilers for Tenet, so what have we been watching?
I have finished the Sopranos rewatch at long last. I say that, it's only took me about a month. It's not as it took me like years to do, but it was always good to get that finished so I can move on to other stuff. I have recently discovered Cobra Kai on Netflix, like most people. And I remember when I started, this was on YouTube years ago. I thought to myself, is this something I need to see? But when I first seen the trailer for it, I thought it was some kind of fan-made thing. I didn't think it was actually a TV show they're making, and I thought, I don't know if that's going to be very good. And I seen more clips of it, and then it was like 2 seasons on YouTube. I need to see this at some point. I was even considering just buying it from YouTube. I was hoping to get a DVD of that. But Netflix just came to the rescue, and at the risk of using any sort of hyperbole, I think it's the greatest TV show ever made. I am absolutely loving it. I think it's so good. It's just the right amount of 80s cheese. And because it's set in the present day, it can take the piss out of itself. And it's very self-aware. Have you seen it? Have you watched any of it at all?
No, like you, I thought it was a fan series uploaded to YouTube, and then when I saw trailers on the Netflix like Facebook account or whatever, I was like, oh, they must have made this like into a thing. But I do fancy watching it. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
You need to have seen the films to enjoy it.
Funnily enough, they use flashbacks very, very well, so you don't have to have seen anything, but it does help to have seen it. Because I watched the first 3 episodes and went, I need to go back and watch Karate Kid. I just have to. And I went back and watched the film because it's on Netflix as well. So I'm back and watched just the first one and went back to the show. But oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's just so much. It's a total joy to watch. It's like half an hour long each episode, and it's just an utter joy. John, you've just seen Karate Kid?
Yes, yeah.
I've
seen 1, 2, and 3. Or was there more than 3?
It's just a 3. No, there's 4. There was one with Hilary Swank, I think it was, with Jennifer Garner. One of the two, and I get 2 mixed up. Yeah, it was rubbish.
Yeah, I've seen the first 3, but it's been a long time since I've watched them. So that's why I was wondering whether you needed that background. But if they're doing flashbacks, then that kind of explains it.
The flashbacks are excellent, but honestly, I wouldn't say too much more about it. Just watch it. It's a total joy to watch. I just finished the first half of season 5 of Lucifer. Does anybody watch that?
I want to get into it.
It's the story of the devil leaves hell and opens a nightclub in LA, then teams up with a detective to start solving crimes. It's very, very loosely based on the comic by the same name by Mike Carey, but the character itself was created by Neil Gaiman in the Sandman comics, and that's where it originated from. Interestingly enough, the character was based on Bowie, look-wise, by the artists, but this is so far removed from it, it's totally different, but it's fun in its own right. Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer's really good in the role. I think you particularly like him in this, Mary.
I mean, honestly, if I was going to sell my soul to Satan, he can take it all.
But yeah, the show's a lot of fun. It was on Amazon originally. It wasn't Amazon original, I think it was Fox that made it. And it got cancelled after the first 3 seasons. And then it was a Save Lucifer fan campaign. And Netflix actually picked it up. So Netflix done season 4, half of season 5 just got released. There's still more episodes to come. There's going to be a 6th and final season coming next year. So looking forward to that. I was also watching a documentary on Red Dwarf called The First 3 Million Years, and that was great. It was David Tennant was directing that, and there was a lot of stories I didn't know, how Alan Rickman almost ended up in Red Dwarf at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
He almost played Lister. Alfred Molina was originally playing Rimmer before he was recast, and it's just like, things like this. Alan Rickman's an incredible actor, one of my favourite actors ever, and I love Alfred Molina as well, but you can't imagine anybody else in those roles. You just can't. And it's incredible the fact that this show's still going on after 30 years. In fact, more than that now. And
they're still making new episodes?
Yeah. And it's a cult show. I mean, there's been big, massive gaps at times between the series starting and ending, but it's a good documentary. If you're a Red Dwarf fan, I'd recommend checking it out. It's a lot of good behind-the-scenes stuff. I've also started watching Lovecraft Country.
How is that?
The first episode, I found it hard to get into, but I thought give it a fair chance. Second season really picked up for me. I will stick with it. bit crazy, bit surreal, but very, very terror based. Very good horror based, especially the fact that you've got the Lovecraftian monsters attacking them. Also mixed in with the fact that they're black people in the Jim Crow South. So you've got the real life racial terrors running parallel with the monsters and that. And it's, yeah, I'll stick with it. I'm quite enjoying it. Have you seen it, John? Did you start it?
I've not started it yet. I usually let these things go for a couple of weeks before getting into it, so I can watch maybe 4 or 5 in the trot.
I thought
it's
about doing
definitely not going to be.
this, but I don't think it's a show I could binge on. I think it's something I could only really I would enjoy watching more week to week and giving it time to settle. A bit like The Watchmen before it in that sense. I found it a hard show to binge. Elsewhere, I recently read The Troop by Nick Cutter, which tells the story of a group of Boy Scouts on an island, and the military have been fucking about with tapeworms to use them as weapons. And it's like Lord of the Flies meets The Thing. It's just total B-movie-tastic. The book I thought was a bit overhyped by the time I got to read it. At the time I actually read it, I did like it though. I think it would make a cracking film. It's got all the elements of a B-movie, which totally right up my street. Let's be honest, but it's a decent enough book. I'd recommend it. And in a more kind of highbrow way to end my recommendations, I was reading The Four Horsemen, the discussion that's sparked an avious revolution. Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, and Christopher Hitchens, who all had a conversation at some conference. It was recorded and transcribed into a book, and it's absolutely fascinating. It really is. And you've got these like 4 really brilliant minds in the room, and they all cower to Christopher Hitchens. His intellect, it's so intriguing when you're reading it, and it's like they walk into wee debates and stuff, and Christopher Hitchens will just speak, and they'll all find themselves agreeing with him. It's absolutely incredible. Very, very controversial book, but very interesting. Oh, and also I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang for the first time on the recommendation.
You've never seen that before, no?
I hadn't seen it before, no. I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, I did quite enjoy it. Very, very much shade black through and through, but much better than Iron Man 3 and The Predator.
Not
as good as
really good.
Yeah, not as good as The Nice Guys. I thought The Nice Guys was better, but I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Okay, what I've been watching, I took advantage of the fact that the cinemas are open again, so I could go back and see The Empire Strikes Back at the weekend there, which was excellent. It was really good. I've not seen that in a cinema screen for probably about 20 years when they re-released the redone versions of them. So that was very nice. I have also watched Safe House, Denzel Washington film, Ryan Reynolds. Just watched that yesterday, just on a whim. I saw it was up on Netflix and gave it a go just to see if I remembered it and actually remembered liking it. And I did. It's an excellent movie, quite a nice wee thriller there. Watched the Tom Hanks film Greyhound, which was a good film, but it was very intense. It was basically about 90 minutes of trying to avoid U-boats, these US Navy. It's where they're escorting merchant Navy ships across, and there's a sort of dead zone within the Atlantic where they can't get air support from one side or the other. And it's in there that the U-boats start hunting them and everything. So it's very technical. There's not a lot of interpersonal dynamics or anything. It's all got to do with the job at hand. So it's quite intense that way. It works quite well. Some of the effects weren't brilliant, though, I must say. Considering this was a film that was supposed to go to the cinema, some of the sea effects didn't look all that great, to be honest.
You see, that was going to be my follow-up question, because this is an Apple TV film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just assumed it was a made-for-Apple TV movie. And when I seen the trailers for it, I thought, yeah, if you've not got the budget, don't try and do a film that should have a bigger budget. It did look very made for TV, and you saying it's supposed to actually be in the cinema. That's surprising.
Yeah,
There's some big scenes in it, obviously, because you're talking about U-boats and a big armada, basically, of ships. So those sort of scenes were made for the cinema because they'd looked really good on it, but there was just a few of them and it looked a wee bit ropey. And normally my wife doesn't normally comment on these things, but she kind of said, doesn't look all that great, doesn't it? And I obviously just had to agree with her because, well, one, I just agree with her on everything anyway, because I've got it. I basically got it tattooed that I am wrong across my chest. So, but she was right as well on this occasion. So yes, I watched Sputnik, which is a Russian horror film. It's only just out. I think it's just out on video on demand. It's about a space mission that comes back to Russia, set in the mid-80s, and they may or may not be alone. And a psychologist is brought in to this secret research establishment to try and figure out if there was something else that came back with them. And it's a really good film. It's quite a low budget. It's a horror sci-fi film, but it works really well. It's really creepy. It's really effective. And the way that they make sort of 1980s Soviet era Uzbekistan look brilliant. It's really good.
That's what I was going to say. I've seen a poster for that. I've not seen any trailers of that. But the fact I do like foreign horror movies. I just kind of find that a lot of kind of Hollywood ones and Western ones in general tend to have a specific style to them, and it's always nice to see. Don't get me wrong, I do think every country has their own style, especially J-horror. But I always like to kind of check like foreign horror movies to kind of see how that country tries to do it. I'll check that out.
Yeah, it was very effective. It was very good. I watched Entrapment, Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery. I'd never seen it, and it was on the iPlayer, and it's very much of this time.
I was going to say, is that
a very tight outfit and going through all the motions to try and avoid laser beams when she's trying to steal something, and it's just, let's just focus on her bottom for a few minutes more.
Do you know?
Is that about 20 years old? It must
yes.
Yeah.
It's more than that, and here's the thing. I think it may be more than that because I took somebody to that, and the first ever date I went on, I took him to see Entrapment.
Good times, eh?
Did you do the old yawn and stretch in the cinema?
I did. I think I just kind of sat with like arms like soldered to my side, like clasped to my knee, hands clasped to my knees.
Popcorn in the lap and all that, yeah. Right, so that was Entrapment, which was okay.
It was very good. I thought it was very good. Yeah, I always remember trying to kind of think. I'm not buying this romantic relationship between Sean Connery and his daughter.
He was supremely old, but even 20 years ago. So
he was supposed to be 60 in the film, but he was actually 70 in real life.
I just realised something. I just realised something. Who am I kidding? Catherine Zeta-Jones is fucking kidding me, Michael Douglas.
That's true.
Yes, it did leave a lot to be desired. Have you ever seen the Sunday Times TV section? You know how they've got a TV mag, it's a culture mag it's called, and they do reviews within the TV section, and a lot of it is one word. So I think for that they said it was unrealistic. Just the whole film. But they're actually quite a scream. There's a lot of them that they put in, preposterous or something like that. Or
did they ever just write shit?
Yeah,
they've come close a few times. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm
maybe laugh at the fact that the culture section of the Sunday Times.
Does your manservant bring it up on a tray with white gloves?
at the breakfast table on a Sunday afternoon, but the others just in the coffee.
You're playing into the image that you.
I know.
Me and Mary are like just lying there on the couch, like scrolling through Twitter. We can't even access the Sunday Times website because by the paywall.
Exactly. Oh man, John, I know you don't mean it, but it's absolutely hysterical because you're so cultured it actually hurts.
Okay, moving on. I also watched Ava, which is a film with Jessica Chastain, John Malkovich, and Gina Davis. It's about an assassin who works for a black ops operation, and basically the tables are turned on her, and she's on the run and has to defend herself and everything. It's okay. It's fairly decent. Jessica Chastain is pretty good in it. Some of the other stuff in it was just all right. There's a reason why it went video on demand. It would never have got a cinema release, this one. But it was an hour and a half. It was okay. It's all right. And finally, in the movie front, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, The Art of Self-Defense. Seen this? It's a film about a guy who gets mugged and decides that he needs to basically learn how to fight. So he goes to karate school. And what happens is the guy that runs the karate school is a bit sinister and completely nuts. And it's just the whole organisation is really shady, and he starts getting involved in it, and it just kind of goes from there. Now, you think it's going to go one way, and then about 45 minutes into it, there's an incident, something happens, and he actually finds out that things are not what they seem, and everything kind of changes around about that. It's a pretty decent movie, actually. I quite enjoyed it. It was last year, I think, and I think it just came out recently on video on demand as well. It's probably one to seek out, I would say. It's pretty good.
That does sound quite
bad.
good. Yeah.
It sounds like Suspiria, but karate.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, you're not too far away there, actually.
It's just been it before, but I just imagine, like, Ridley Scott famously went and pitched Alien as Jaws in space. So imagine Suspiria, karate.
I'm surprised you've not seen Suspiria. Have you seen either of them?
No, both of them are on my list on Amazon,
Really?
and I know it's a film I'm going to have to sit and devote some time to. Both of them, for that matter. Although the running time in both of them is vastly different. The original is fairly short, and the remake is not. But yeah, I will watch them at some point. If I'm off next week, I might watch them then.
I think they both stand up. Yeah. I really like the original. The remake, or whatever you want to call it, reimagining, whatever you want to call it, kind of fell down the last 20 minutes or so for me. It got a bit silly, but I really liked the music, and I thought Dakota Fanning, is that her name? Yeah. No.
Yeah. No.
Dakota Johnson. Dakota Johnson. That's I mean, I thought she was really good in it.
I like how you put it went a wee bit silly in the last 20 minutes.
Well, no spoilers.
That's pretty much that's like understating.
I'll let Simmy watch and decide.
Yeah. Aye. So watch that. I also binged the whole of Station 19, which is a firefighter drama. It's a spin-off from Grey's Anatomy. Now, obviously, I'd watched the whole Grey's Anatomy season 16 last time we spoke, and there was a few crossover episodes. Now, I'd watched a couple of episodes of Station 19 to begin with when it came out, but I just went back and watched the whole thing. There was 2 seasons on Amazon and one on, I think it was Sky On Demand, the 3rd season. And I just basically ran my way through the whole lot of it in the space of about a week. I was watching about 4 episodes a day. Everybody was going nuts. I'm saying, "You still watching that?" But it's pretty good. It's the same sort of idea as Grey's Anatomy, except obviously they're fighting fires instead of rescuing people and operations and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty entertaining. I'm up to episode 86, I think, now in the Arrowverse rewatch. I've only got just over 500 to watch on that. There's only 600 episodes in total.
Have you had any crossovers yet?
Just the very first Arrow and Flash one, because it's only on I'm only on season 3 of Arrow.
Yeah.
So there's plenty more to come, and obviously they're going to be introducing some of the other shows in the near future, as far as I'm concerned, in the watching order. So yeah, I'm just watching them all in order. I'm not skipping ahead to the crossover episodes, and I'm just it's fun. It's good fun. It's all right.
Yeah, it's like, sorry to interrupt, is it for me, like, yeah, I love those shows at the beginning and I watched them all kind of religiously, but like, I found every week there was like more and more and more, and because I was watching them, like, was it Monday to Thursday, a different episode was on each night, a different shows on each night, and I realised how all these shows are formulaic. Supernatural, Smallville, Arrow, those CW shows, but see when you watch them like all week, you really noticed it, and I found myself just drifting away from. So maybe how you're doing it's better in a way.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not watching too many of them at the one time. I did find out with Station 19, you would watch, if you're watching 4 episodes, not so much back to back, but over the course of a day or so, you do figure out things, because obviously they're all sort of standalone stories, but there's through stories in it. So if something gets introduced just as a wee comment in one episode, you know that it's going to come back like 2 or 3 episodes, and it's going to be a major storyline or something like that, just because it's the standard way of introducing things. Yeah, you do get to see that when you watch enough of these things.
You see, I didn't even really mind it in an idea about watching the one show and binging it being repetitive. When you're watching 4 different shows and realising they're all repetitive, it was. I actually started getting that fabled superhero fatigue.
Yep.
When watching the Arrowverse, but the crossovers are excellent and definitely worth it.
What else have I been watching? I have been watching Stargirl as well, the new DC show. But I watched a couple of episodes of that. That's pretty good as well. It's okay. It's not brilliant or anything, but it's all right. I think I'll stick with it and see if it gets any better. Not too fussed about it, to be perfectly honest. Also been watching Arthur again, which I just love.
I love
cannot
Archer.
get enough of that. I watched the first 3 seasons of that and then just sort of put it to the side and hadn't watched it for maybe about 2 years or something. And now there's so many of them, I still have to catch up on. I've seen bits and pieces of them because my son's watched most of them, but just getting back into it, they're all laugh out loud funny, and just there's so many things you take away from it. Like, I can't hear anybody talking about someone with an East German name without going, what, the shot putter? Or something like that. And you just there's stupid wee things you just pick up on all the time, and it's just brilliant. Just love it. It's one of these things you could watch all day quite easily. And piss yourself up. And I've also been watching Hell's Kitchen, the US version of it. Basically, my son has got totally into it because it's just they're streaming all the American version on Amazon Prime, and I've just been watching that, and it's just hilarious. It's just brilliant just to see Gordon Ramsay just been an absolute bastard for 24 hours a day. It's just it's great TV because they do it in such. If you remember back to the likes of Big Brother when they started it in this country, and they had contestants on it that they thought everybody would be kind of interested in, and they would bring something to the show. But then they realised that wasn't really working, so they just brought in complete tosspots. After a while, and they brought in so many of them that you wouldn't just. They started by just bringing in a couple of them, so that it would be a wee bit of entertainment value, and then people were voting them out because they're horrible, didn't like them. But what Hell's Kitchen's done is they've just got maybe 1 or 2 people who are okay, and the rest of them are all just completely nuts. They're just all horrible people. And it's massively entertaining television because Gordon Ramsay just does not hold any truck with them whatsoever. He just gets totally stuck into them. And then, of course, because he's running a restaurant at the same time, when the people are not getting their food, they're coming up and complaining. And he basically just says to them, fuck off, back to you. And he makes some sort of personal remark. Like, there was a tall, elegant woman come up and started to complain, and he just said to the head waiter, can you tell the giraffe just to go back to her chair, please?
Gordon Ramsay.
It was just brilliant, and you can't get enough of it. It's so funny, and it's so much better than watching Selling Sunset, which I've been kind of dipping in and out of as well. Which it's just on the TV, so I've been watching it. I can't say that I'm watching under any sort of protest. Like, there are other rooms in house that I can actually go to if I don't want to see it. But that's an experience that I know you've been watching all of that, haven't you, Mary?
Yeah, I've binged it all. I still can't tell Jason and Brett apart. They are literally just 2 identical wee bald guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, if I worked at a workplace like that, it would be emotionally draining, but it's the property porn. It's the $47 million house or whatever. That's what you're there for. Yeah. You want to see all that.
Well, there was one that I saw, it had 9 rooms and 12 bathrooms. And I just kind of went, what, sorry, 12 bathrooms? How many bathrooms do you need? For goodness sake.
Yeah, they always have a crazy amount of bathrooms, and I'm like, how many people are you having over to your house, and do they all need to pee at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, didn't make any sense. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been watching. Book-wise, I've only been reading one. I'm reading a book called Projections, which is a series of books. I think there's maybe 16 of them now. It's a forum for filmmakers, it's described as, and it's all essays from various filmmakers. It was put together by John Boorman, and he writes in the first one. There's also an essay from Samuel Fuller and Emmerich Pressburger and Jonathan Demme and Gus Van Sant and people like that. So it's a pretty interesting read. I think they've been going for years and years, and it's one that I just saw. It was one of these things that was recommended to, you know, how you get recommendations on Amazon. You know, if you like this, you maybe like this, and it was this Projections thing, so I looked at it, and you can't buy the books new anymore, so a lot of them you're getting for like a penny plus postage, and they're excellent reads. So I've built up maybe about 12 of them now so far, and they're all really good. And because it's only like 15 and 20 pages that you're reading at a time, you're just reading these essays, and you don't need to think about, I've got another 300 pages of a book to read, so you can just dip in and out of them and dip in and out of different books as well. It's pretty good. That's me.
I feel like I haven't really watched a lot. Since our last podcast, John, I watched 30 Days of Night, which you recommended. Thoroughly shat myself. I hate when they do things in films that blacks out a character's eyes. Like there's no cut, it's just all black. And obviously all of the vampires had that, including like 16 rows of teeth. And then they had that horrible scream noise that they kept. Like, I swear to God, that was my new sleep paralysis demon for about a week afterwards. It was so scary. It was such a good movie, but I was like really scared by it. So it was a good recommendation. Other movies that I watched Moneyball, which I'd never seen. And it was kind of like super fast. You had to keep up. And they were like genuinely talking like proper baseball statistics. So you had to like pay attention to that. But I really enjoyed it. I thought Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill were fantastic in it. It was one that totally just passed me by when it was out, but I knew there was a lot of Oscar hype around it, so I wanted to make a point of watching it, and that was good. I watched the first episode of The Plot to Kill America, which is based on the Philip Roth novel, which is set back in the 1930s, and it's talking about sort of like white supremacist sentiments stirring up in America, and it focuses on a Jewish family. But I've only got into the first episode because it didn't excite me as much as I thought it would. So it didn't quite grab me enough, but I will go back to it because I've downloaded the full series. I also watched a documentary on Hillary Clinton. She was interesting. She kind of changed my opinion about her, you know, for a couple of reasons. But then they rolled out Bill, and he was like, "Oh, I love my wife. I fell in love with her intelligence. She's so wonderful." Cut to, you know, Jennifer Flowers or Monica Lewinsky, and I was like, "Oh, he just gives me the creeps now." I also watched Love on the Spectrum on Netflix, which I cannot recommend highly enough. It's only 6 episodes. It's about these Australian young people with autism and Asperger's, and they're sort of obviously trying to go out and date. Michael and Mark are my absolute heroes. Like Michael in particular, being the typical blunt Aspie, was obviously not enjoying his date and just put his car keys out on the table and was like, "Well, that's me, I've had enough." And I was like, I love this guy. The honesty was incredible, but it was really good, really kind of heartwarming. I think that's everything I've watched. Reading wise, I have read Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams, which is a sort of story about a young black journalist living in London and her sort of love life and family life and dealing with mental health, which I thought was really, really well written. I also read Writers and Lovers by Lily King, which is about a girl who is a waitress, but she's trying to write a book. She's living in Boston and again sort of falling in and out of relationships and kind of family and that sort of thing. And I just liked it because as somebody who obviously is a frustrated novelist, I was just like the parts where she was trying to sit down and write, and then she'd written loads of pages and basically just wanted to set them on fire because she thought it was shit. I was like, yeah, I can empathise with this. I also read Conjure Woman by Afia Akatora, which is about a slave practising hoodoo back in the Deep South. And finally, I read William J. Mann's Tinseltown, which is about murder, morphine and madness at the start of Hollywood. So it's a factual novel, non-fiction, but it kind of reads like an old sort of pulpy noir. It's about, you know, the Hays Code of production. It's about how MGM gets set up, and it's about the murder of a prominent director back in the 1920s and how that was linked to, you know, hidden homosexual relationships and widespread morphine use and getting around prohibition. I thought it was really, really well written. I actually didn't want it to end. I loved his Katharine Hepburn biography, and I'm going to get more of his cinema stuff because he's a really, really engaging writer. It was such a good read.
Did I also see that you started watching The Wire for the first time?
Oh, yes, I did. I totally forgot about that, and that's not because I'm not enjoying it. I have never seen this before. I didn't realise it was like Dominic West and Idris Elba were the like two English, obviously, actors, kind of the leads in this really big sort of revered American drama. Yeah, I noticed it was available on Sky, like all of it, which they don't usually do. So I've been downloading everything like a fiend, and I'm really enjoying it. It's young Michael B. Jordan is like this little tiny baby in it. He's like so skinny, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And the guy that plays Chalky in Boardwalk Empire is in it as well. I can't remember the actor's name, but I'm only about 6 or 7 episodes in, but I'm really, really loving it. Although this weekend I'm going to have to dinghy it because I'm dedicating that to The Boys season 2 on Amazon Prime, and I'm thinking of ending things on Netflix because I read the book and that really fucked with my head, so I'm really excited to see what they do with it.
No, it's the reason I remember the Wire there was because I've started rewatching it last night as well. I haven't watched it in over 10 years. I missed it the first time it was on, but not long after it finished. I think it was BBC did repeats all from the start, and I watched it then. But a wee bit of trivia for you. It's not a spoiler or anything, but it also ties into John's talking about these crossovers with Grey's Anatomy. And is it Station 13?
Station 19.
So Station 19 in the Arrowverse. Richard Belzer plays a detective, John Munch, I'm not sure the pronunciation, in Homicide: Life in the Street. and Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Mm-hmm.
He also turns up in The Wire, playing the same
Okay.
character. He also turns up in The X-Files, playing the same character. So, in theory, and there's evidence to back it up, the X-Files and The Wire exist in the same shared universe.
I love this idea.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
I also love that this guy has made a career out of playing one character. Can you imagine if they maybe pitched a role to me, he's like, nah, but can I just do what I've done and all the other? I'll keep the same name. It just, it makes it easier for me to learn my lines or something. I kind of like that idea.
For me, the idea that McNulty could go to the bar and Mulder is sitting fucking blows my mind. But another interesting thing about Richard Belzer, if you go on YouTube and type in Richard Belzer and Hulk Hogan, you'll see something quite mental.
Okay.
I'll just tell you, Richard Belzer's in a talk show. Hulk Hogan was on it, and he was, oh, wrestling's fake, blah blah, and all that. I think this was the 80s. And Hogan's like, yeah, come here, I'll show you a move, and he puts him in a front face lock. And Richard Belzer's like, ah ha ha ha, and then his arms go limp. The audience laughs because they think he's just pretending. Hogan lets him go, and he falls bang against the floor. And they're like, are you okay? And he gets up, and he just springs back up, says some gibberish to the camera, and the camera cuts. And interview him years later, and he goes, I had no idea what happened. 1 minute, I'm speaking to Hulk Hogan. Next minute, I'm speaking to paramedics. And you actually look at the footage, there's blood on the ground, where he's hit the ground so hard.
Holy shit.
The footage is incredible. And it's his own fault.
Yeah.
It really is his own fault. He was trying to be a smart ass. But that's what I know him from as well. I don't know if Hulk Hogan ties it to The Wire in the shared universe, but the idea of Suburban Commando in The Wire crossing over. Tell me you've seen Suburban Commando, John.
No, I've not seen
Oh, God. See if it turns up in Netflix or Amazon Prime or even just on TV one night. We have to do a podcast on it.
Is this a Hulk Hogan movie?
Yeah, Hulk Hogan, Christopher Lloyd, and is it Shelley Duvall is in it as well. And oh God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
What possessed Christopher Lloyd?
I don't know, this is the 90s as well, so it wasn't like Christopher Lloyd washed up. This is like Christopher Lloyd at the height of Back to the Future fame. He's the one carrying the film.
Right, I mean, gee, it'll probably be on Channel 5. They usually carry that sort of shit, don't they?
God. Watch a trailer for it, it's absolutely incredible.
Sounds good.
Guess I'm supposed to see off that. Anything else we could buy? Guess I'm just in front of me. Yeah, what's happening?
A mate of mine sent me his theory last night that he thinks that Robert Pattinson and Elizabeth Debicki's wee girl, a wee boy, are the same character.
My mum said that.
Right. Here's part of his theory. The wee guy's called Max. It could be short for Maximilian. If spelled Lien, is Neil if you put it backwards. What else is it?
Some stretch going on there, but yes.
My mum wondered that as well because we went to see it on the same night as us, and she came out and she was like, "Well, was he that wee boy then?" I was like, "Oh, I never really thought about that."
There's also a bit when she lifts her top to show a scar. And apparently, I don't remember this. He's seen it a couple of times. It subverts his eyes and looks away, like a politeness or a bashfulness, maybe. His speech at the ending says, "It's the end for me, but it'll start for you." We got to some stuff, and then the next scene is the protagonist outside the school. And yeah, it could be stretches as well, but Christopher Nolan even said, we think he may be called Neil. You never really quite know what's going on with his identities. Now again, that's still a bit of a stretch, all this kind of tying in. But the idea that the character could be Maximilian and that's Neil backwards, the way the film is, that's too much of a coincidence if that's the case. Again, it could be a stretch, but it could also be, I think there's some possibility to it.
It fits in with the forward and backward element of the story and everything. Yeah, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, I'm just going to give him a shout out. That's at CG Novo 992 that sent me that last night. He's utterly convinced, but I'm also not speaking to him because he watched Hellraiser 2 last and didn't like it. To the point it's almost put him off watching the rest of the franchise. And I said, you know what, you probably like 3 better because of the way your stupid wee fucking mind works. But anyway, keep that in, by the way.
Don't worry, yeah, that's going to stay on. So there haven't been very many spoilers out there for Tenet at all. it's been quite respectful so far. I thought people would have put quite a lot of stuff, considering the amount of spoilers that were out there for Endgame the day that it was released, and a number of people that were saying, well, this happens and that happens. But there's not really been that from what I've seen, and I've not really avoided like coverage of it or anything. There just doesn't seem to be.
Do you think because nobody's got a fucking clue what happened?
I was just about to say, is it a lack of understanding that has caused a lack of spoilers?
They're probably on Twitter going, oh, I'm going to spoil the film for this guy. So, right, the beginning, there's an opera scene, and then this bullet goes flying backwards, and then they start messing with time, and then Batman turns up, and fuck, I can't be asked anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely something you need to watch twice. At least twice, just to get your head around some of the elements of it, because you're able to concentrate on some of the things that you weren't concentrating on the first time, because you're taking in the whole spectacle the first time. Some of it's really, really clever as well, especially the way that they did see the car chase scene. There's all the backwards car and all that, because the first time you see a car on the road, you go, oh dear, there's a car on the road. But then that all ties back into another thing. You're just thinking.
See, for me, with that scene, when he goes out of the car the first time and drives it, and how the fall, it looks so like unnerving. The way everything's going against the natural flow. It's just so well shot. So well shot.
It's the fact that they had to learn how to do everything back. Well, like obviously there was a fight scene that they showed twice. And how do you even start choreographing that?
I loved that scene. I actually could not get enough of it. And I had a wee sneaky suspicion about the fight scene, which was confirmed later on in the movie. But I absolutely loved it. It was just so fascinating. It was almost like balletic. Like you're watching all the movement and things are going backwards and things are moving forward at the same time. And it's just, honestly, it was like a piece of dance. It was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And because of the unnatural movements of the time moving forward and time moving backwards at the same time, it's such a tense. The action scenes are really, really tense, because you're just kind of, it just really makes me, it unnerves me to see things moving unnaturally.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yep.
And it's fun as well because I kept thinking an episode of Red Dwarf. I don't know, do you watch Red Dwarf, Mary?
Chris has tried with me. I didn't laugh.
John, you've seen that, I take it. You're quite familiar.
I've seen quite a lot of Red Dwarf, yeah.
There's an episode in the first series, in fact, it's actually the first episode of the first series, when they travel a parallel universe and everything, all time runs backwards. And if it's bits of Tenet, it just kept reminding me of that. I kept laughing to myself because I wonder if Christopher Nolan, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he's seen Red Dwarf and he's seen that episode, has thought, I have an idea for a film.
What did you think of the MacGuffin in the film? What they were all looking for? These big, massive blocks of things. You think, what's happened to technology in the future? Why is everything get bigger again? These big, because the whole thing, when put together, they were all big blocks of stuff.
Yeah.
Why are they so big? Why do they need to be so big?
Do you think that was a 2001 reference, maybe?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know.
The pillar kind of begin the time type idea, and then it's there again at the end, and everything kind of lips back in.
I thought it was meant to be like almost like a now we see like Tower of Babel thing. I thought it was like a languages thing.
That's probably a better idea, because if you break it up and scatter it, it's
and
better.
Then it sort of fitted into that idea of the Latin palindrome and whatever way you turned them, the words still read. So I always thought this was like a linguistic thing as much as a time thing. But maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's
possible as well, because even the word tenet can mean like, and it's got different meaning in religious terms. So it could even time it. I mean, there's the thing as well is that you could read so much out of this film, and a lot of it is probably just nonsense and probably just fan theory. But knowing Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker as well, you wouldn't be surprised if a lot of stuff you're theorising he actually has thought of and doing it.
Well, he did bring in the guy that he worked with in Interstellar. Is it Kip Thorne, the physicist? It may not be Thorne, but he brought in the same physicist to go through some of the quantum mechanics of the story, so he would have at least he was working on a sort of sound basis of how things would work going backwards in time.
Do you know, there's a promotional advert on Twitter earlier on for Tenet, and I clicked on it and I was expecting, as you were saying, John, like all these different spoilers underneath it as per the Avengers. But there's a lot of people just slating the movie, saying stuff like, oh, you can tell this film's only came out because we're desperate for movies and they've COVID world and all that kind of fucking nonsense. If this Christopher Nolan film isn't going to, a film with over $200 million budget is going to go straight to DVD. But somebody mentions the science of the movie and criticises it, and I'm like, oh, fuck off.
I mean, I
Just
think
fuck
unless
off.
you're like a quantum physicist, then you don't really get to comment on the science of the movie.
See, even if you are, fuck off as well.
I know.
It's a
obviously-
film, it's not a documentary, and it's not as if they even try and pretend the science is real in it. Like, they really go into the bones of it. Like, have you seen Sunshine, Danny Boyle?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had Brian Cox as an advisor on that movie, and that's the first time I'd ever heard of him. This is so long ago, before he was quite a well-known name. And they brought him on board as an advisor to make the film as scientifically accurate as possible. There was an interview in Empire magazine behind the scenes, and it spoke to Brian Cox, and they said they're trying their best to make this movie really based in science. There's only one big massive flaw. They meant what's that? But the plot. A spaceship could never get that close to the sun. It's just virtually impossible, even if we ever try to explain it. And it's like, yeah, and so what? It's nice that you're trying to make it as scientifically real as possible, but you've got a big fucking plot hole. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It's a film. You could reword it. Science fiction, people.
Yep. I think there's at least 3 occasions in the film where somebody says, "Don't worry about it," or "It happen't yet." Because when he's doing the reverse bullet, the scientist says, "Oh, don't worry about it. You know, don't think about it too much." And he's told later, I think it's Aaron Taylor Johnson, when they're looking at the viewing areas, when you're going in one and out the other, and he says, "Is your head hurting yet?" You think, yeah, well,
Yeah.
it would be under those sort of circumstances.
Yeah, there are several people that say like, "Oh, you don't need to think about that too much," and I almost wondered if that was like another wee like distraction thing to sort of test you as a viewer. It's like, oh, was that a piece of information that I should have really listened to? Not that I obviously wasn't listening, but I felt like they kept saying that as a sort of like trying to throw you off thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also as well, it's like the main character, the protagonist, he's a CIA operative. He's not a fucking theoretical physicist.
Yeah.
He isn't supposed to understand what's going on the whole time thing. So there's no need to dedicate like 20 minutes of a scene explaining what's happening to try and make it sound realistic, just so we can say, oh, cool.
Is anyone like, I mean, seriously though, like if you go to a film like that, knowing the plot and the way it sort of unfolds, is realism your main concern out of all of this? Like you walk away from this going, I don't feel like the physics were very accurate in this. Like if you are that guy walking away from the cinema doing that, then you're a dick.
What got me though, what I couldn't really get my head around, was at the end of it, there are 2 characters who are living in the same timeline. The wife of the oligarch, because she jumps off the boat, but she's going back to the boat at the same time. Later on, at the very end of the film, where she picks up the phone and says, "Oh, you know, it may be nothing, but I've seen this car outside school." Which one is it?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because he was speaking to the one that jumped off the boat, not the one that went back to the boat with the child.
That's true.
So that was kind of that. I'm sure there must be an explanation for it, but I'm not 100% sure. Did one of them murder the other one? But you couldn't touch, because if you touch it, messes things.
Well, see, the touch thing's interesting because that was in my head, but then obviously there's that extended fight scene. So that kind of defies the rules that have been set out. So I'm like, do any of these rules actually count, or is that also a head fuck?
They're not skin to skin contact, or
Yeah, he's.
I thought it was just any. I thought it was just any contact at all.
No, it's your particles that are on your body, and one of them is completely covered head to toe, wearing gloves, all sorts. Yeah, obviously wearing the face mask. And you don't, during the first fight, you don't see a close up of the protagonist, if you like. Yeah. Protagonist, antagonist. All you see a close up of him wearing the mask the second time that they fight.
Yeah.
So.
There's also that scene from Back to the Future 2 when Doc Brown's saying you can't see your future self. If you do, it could create a paradox and destroy the entire universe. And when they do meet each other, the 2 Jennifers, they just faint instead. So it kind of realises this like end of the world type scenario, or they might just faint because it's a bit weird.
Well, as soon as I heard them saying, like, you know, does your head hurt, or don't really think about this, I just thought of Austin Powers, because there's the Austin Powers film where he goes back in time and he's saying to his boss, Basil Exposition, but won't this cause a paradox? And he says, now, Austin, don't you worry about it. And then he turns to the camera and he says, and remember, don't you worry about it either.
And let's be honest, see any time travel film worth its salt, you're going to have a paradox in it. It has to have it. It needs to be.
As long as there's rules and you stick to those rules, it can be as implausible as anything.
Yeah.
If you set out your stall early on and you don't change, that's when you start changing things for the sake of, an action scene or to try and actually get to a conclusion, then that's where it kind of falls down.
Like the Avengers, maybe? Possibly. Kind of mess with the same rules a little. Just to have a... Don't get me wrong, but I think they do sacrifice a bit of kind of their own rules for a satisfying ending.
Again, it's a superhero movie, so it's like...
No, I know, but it's the idea, like, I'm not talking about any kind of a theoretical time travel idea, but I get what John's saying. If this is your road of time travel in your movie, at least stick to your own rules.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, there was a film I saw at the film festival, I think it was Joe versus his future self, and there was two characters playing the same person, one older, it was Daniel Stern that was playing the older character, and the way they got round that, because they meet up at one point and he says, do I look like you in the future? And he says, well, time travel really fucks up. It really fucks you up. And that's how they get around the fact that they were different heights and they looked nothing alike. And that was, they made that statement and moved on from there, and it just works.
That's brilliant.
Perfect.
That's absolutely genius.
Maybe that's why I'm so short. Maybe there's
possible.
a time traveling version of me out there somewhere, and I'm actually just like, I'm a zip file. I'm just compressed.
I mean, that's why
Quite possibly.
like time travel and comedy films really work, because they can just take the piss out of its own rules.
Yeah.
Like Bill and Ted, it's like after we do all this stuff, we'll travel back in time and put the keys here so we can find them.
Yeah.
Oh look, there's the keys. Also see Arrival.
Oh my God, you have such a bee in your bonnet about this. Just accept. The movie's a genius. You just need
I
to go
don't have
back.
a bee in my bonnet. This is all continuity because it's the same.
Arrival is it's a film about language. It's about linguistics. Just focus on that. Don't focus on anything else.
See, when I don't watch a film about giant aliens,
Yep.
I don't want a lesson in linguistics.
Oh, I do. I do fair film about that.
Independence Day. You only want to know one thing. They did not come in peace. Boom.
And
You just want the blow shit up. Aliens. I like the let's communicate version of events.
Let's be honest, Independence Day is probably more realistic.
Surely if there's any intelligent life out there, they were taking a look at Earth just now and going, fuck that.
Yeah.
So
even the aliens Independence Day wore masks.
Prepped for COVID. Our Pats has got the COVID.
Yeah, Batman production's been shut down.
which is quite a blow. That was announced yesterday that a member of the production had tested positive, but it was only afterwards that it actually turned out that it was actually Mr. Batman himself. And cue lots of jokes. It's okay. He's a bat as well. You know, it doesn't really matter. He will be fine.
I never even thought about that. That is fucking cracking. All I could think of was, do you remember a while ago there was rumours that he didn't wash? And there was a rumour that, like, on most films that he does, similar to sort of Matthew McConaughey, he's got this thing about, like, deodorants and soap and stuff like that. So in my head, he's just always, like, stinking. So I was like, maybe it's a hygiene thing and that's why he's got COVID. But I never even thought about the bat angle. That's hysterical.
Just shows you that we're not out of the woods yet, doesn't it?
It does as well, and it's almost kind of like this is coming under the umbrella of the so-called new normal, where these big Hollywood blockbuster movies can be shut down at a moment's notice. Again and again.
Seemingly, is it for Mission Impossible? I think Tom Cruise has hired a massive cruise ship to house all of the cast and crew so they can continue filming. I'm not making this up.
The Tom Cruise ship.
Yeah, so they can be like self-contained.
Is that not just a Sea Org?
He's just recruiting them.
I ain't falling for
The
that
guys
one,
have,
Tom.
come on, guys, let's get a movie made. Just go on the boat. Just go on the boat. But yeah, seemingly he has, because obviously it was shut down because they were filming in Venice, and obviously Italy, or the north of Italy, was one of the first places to go into total lockdown. So that's obviously been cancelled. But yeah, apparently he's just hired a really fuck off massive boat.
Just imagine Tom Cruise trying to outrun the coronavirus.
if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him, right? So
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting going forward because obviously these are almost like test cases, these productions that are opening up. The Batman was only running for maybe about 3 or 4 days and had to shut down again. So it's going to really impact release schedules into next year and the year after because obviously that was put back to October? I think it was, wasn't it? October 2021, 22 maybe?
Yeah,
22, I think.
22,
Yeah.
From the trailer we've seen, there's only something like 25% of the movie shot.
Yeah, that looks good.
Oh, it does.
It looks fucking amazing.
I'm very
Yeah,
excited
so
about it.
I don't think this is going to be the last production just because just the logistics around it. You can keep cast and crew together as much as you like, but there's always going to be people coming in and out of productions sort of lower level. It's fair enough having a ship full of actors and technicians, but a film production is so much more than just the actors and technicians. You've got all the sort of small elements that come in and out of these things. So
a ship full of potential recruits, let's just be fucking honest here.
Tom preaching the gospel of Elron every night.
Tom Cruise returns to shore and like everybody's got the COVID apart from him and like every movie from there was just a Scientologists. Well, I'm Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the Batman.
John, it would be like The Master.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
I need to see this film.
It's so good, Timmy.
I know.
But the last place you want to be during coronavirus outbreak is a cruise ship, yeah. I mean,
it's a very good point. I mean, very good. Tom Cruise really thought this through.
He's probably going to film it. It's going to be the next Mission Impossible film.
See him doing laps of the cruise ship.
Because they are doing them back to back, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Under Siege 3 and Mission Impossible crossover. Everything's a shared universe these days.
It has to be because we're running out of actors who've not got COVID.
We're all sympathy, aren't we?
The new Charlie Kaufman movie has landed on Netflix today as well. When I say the day we record this, obviously, the time you listen to it will be a different day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm thinking of ending things. It's based on a book.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Sorry.
I
do want to watch that. Just when you said Charlie Kaufman, it just threw me. I read the book. The book was a total headfuck. Like even the front cover is. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like it says I'm thinking of ending things like 6 or 7 times, and it does look like somebody has tried to like scratch the book cover off. That was when I had to read with the lights on. But the trailer looks like Toni Collette. Like, oh fucking hell, she just looks crazy. I'm very excited.
Do you think it's worthwhile reading the book first, or should I go just go ahead and watch it? Do you think? I know you've not seen it, so you can't really compare. But is it something worth reading?
I definitely really enjoyed it. It's non-linear novel, and I'm interested to see what they do with that because there were so many times around the book that I was like, huh, how did that happen? Then you kind of go back a couple of pages and you're like, all right, we've moved on to something else now. It's a really, really interesting read, so I would recommend having a go at it.
Cool. I'll add it to the list.
We should all be doing this, not just me.
I know,
especially you, Mary, with your new video presentation skills.
John, have you been creeping in my LinkedIn again?
No, because it keeps popping up in my LinkedIn. Mary Palmer likes this. Mary Palmer has shared this, and there's right, okay, and then there's two videos. They pop up in my timeline all the time. So they're good, they're very good. Honestly, no, they are.
Is this code for OnlyFans? And
no.
By you saying you're watching Mary's videos, she's talking about watching yours.
Well,
it's just a videos of John combing his hair.
Oh, that would honestly be like ASMR porn for me. Honestly, just like the brush going through it really slowly. No, I did personal branding training and working how to market yourself, and then realised that I'm a bit of a shitbag when it comes to like doing video and stuff like that myself. So try to lead by example, which has put my anxiety levels back through the roof. But oh well.
Yeah, I can imagine. Unfortunately,
but you come across really well.
Oh, thanks, John.
No, honestly, you've been getting lots of comments with people saying, yeah, really, really good. And they're right, you've come across very naturally and you've obviously prepared and everything. And you don't say fuck once.
Yeah, just only because it's a work thing. That's I've got the swear jar for all the outtakes. Honestly, the first time I tried to record one, do that way when you just see yourself back and you're just like, how has anyone ever taken you seriously in your professional career to date? Because you're just talking shit. But yeah, in exchange for hairbrushing videos, John, I will continue to post those on LinkedIn.
I am not going to post hairbrushing videos on LinkedIn. What's left of my career would be in absolute tatters. Mind you, I would have a whole new career, so
Exactly.
Exactly. I needed your expertise this morning because I was on the phone to our web developer and he was like, "Oh, something wrong with like PHP or something." And I was like, "You are literally speaking a different language. I need an adult to come and help."
It's just a different skill set. It's not an adult thing, Mary.
It's everything's like only like 2 or 3 letters though. Like you guys don't speak in words. You literally just speak in letters. I couldn't keep up with what he was saying.
Do you know where all this originated from? It was the likes of Bill Gates back in the late 70s when they were putting their companies together. They deliberately made the language difficult so people couldn't understand it outside of the communities. Yeah, because it made them feel a wee bit more special and a wee bit more better than they actually are. It was like a whole different world. That's what they were going for, a community. So they made sure that the language was arcane as possible so only they could understand it. And it made them feel better, made them feel special when they're talking to, well, like you said, non-adults. Yeah.
Oh, well, I hope it does make them feel special. That's nice. I'm sure Bill Gates does feel very special with his vast fortune living in his castle.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Injecting us all these implants.
Where has all that started from? Where did the Bill Gates has given everyone COVID? Where did that even come from? He's a good guy. He gives all his money away.
Yeah, that's a front. I mean, there's 5G masts near me, and there's full of graffiti saying 5G kills. Well, I think one has actually been trying to get set on fire, but there's somebody's been wrote 5G kills, and somebody's wrote under it, then why we still hear you halfway? It's like 5G kills, not Disney.
Oh man, I wish I could properly like deep dive into like Reddit and Twitter and stuff sometimes, but it's actually frightening that some people are very committed to a particular system of beliefs.
I was watching Cobra Kai earlier, and like Johnny gets internet for the first time, and he's just looking up porn, but he comes across a page and it's like dinosaurs built the pyramids.
Oh, have you not seen Church of Raptor Jesus?
No.
Yeah, I must have.
This is a real thing. There's people that like worship a raptor version of Jesus.
Why wouldn't you?
It's like tinfoil hat central, but yeah, Church of Raptor Jesus. It's always like good for a laugh if you're bored.
Well, I know what I'm doing tonight. Whether I'm bored or not, I'm just. I'm doing it just now. Sorry if I just drift off. You just talk amongst yourselves. No, I better not actually, because that's the kind of thing I would get sucked into. You see me in the next podcast and you'll mention it. I'll say, I think my fate. I think my Lord and Saviour's a laughing matter, Mary.
Born again.
I thought you said porn again. I was like, oh well.
No.
Well, I'm looking up Raptor Jesus, you know.
John's like totally disgusted because they don't do that kind of thing.
No, I was just thinking about Triceracop from Kung Fury.
Wait, am I going to say something else there?
No.
Do you know one of my managers in my work went and was looking for my Kindle one day, my Amazon, and she was, recommending books to me, and downloaded a sample, a book called Sexed by the Rex. And I went, is this some kind of mad dinosaur porn? That's what she was hoping it was. It wasn't. It was just homosexual porn about gay paleontologists fucking on archaeology sites, which wasn't exciting.
A Rex Harrison tell-all book.
Do you know, and I thought I was disappointed not to read dinosaur porn, but here we are.
Oh my god, for once it wasn't me that said something stupid. Can Simi please open the podcast with that quote this week? I'm sick of it being me.
Well, I've only just begun, Mary.
You're such good value, Mary.
That's what my OnlyFans subscribers say.
Hey.